My name is Tamar Medford, and this is my story. I always like to start off my story letting people know that I had an amazing upbringing, because I know that this isn't the case for many who slip into a world of addiction. But for me, I had 2 loving parents and a younger brother, and we spent a lot of time together. At the age of 14, after we had moved around quite a bit, I became incredibly insecure. I felt as though I didn't fit in. Everything felt awkward. When I got drunk for the first time, I felt as though my life had gone from black and white to color. Everything seemed vibrant. I felt as though I was funny. I felt liked, and all my insecurities slipped away. I believed that I started drinking because of my inability to handle my emotions. Alcohol gave me that numbing feeling like nothing else had. Unfortunately, I became fearless at that point, and I started to ingest other mind-altering substances like marijuana, speed, acid, and even mushrooms. Although I believe that this started off fairly innocently, in my mid-20s, as all my friends were going off to college and university, I didn't want the party to end. Up until this point, I was a blackout drunk, and I was introduced to cocaine for the first time. The first time I had ingested cocaine was in the form of crack. I remember that feeling of putting my lips on the pipe, lighting the lighter, and inhaling the substance into my body. I felt invincible. I had found a solution to my blackout problem. Cocaine made me feel like I had a power I had never experienced before, and so I had instantly become addicted to it. Unfortunately, this led to me slipping a disc in my back from working, ironically enough, lifting kegs of beer. Now, this was an addict's dream. I was now off work, getting paid by the government, and I was also prescribed prescription painkillers. So I was drinking, using cocaine, and also prescription painkillers for the next 3 months. This would probably be one of the lowest bottoms I had experienced in my addiction, and I would experience many. I remember sitting in a crack house and thinking, how did I ever end up here? A person like me does not end up in a place like this. But yet here I was. At this point, I realized that things had to change. And so I decided to do what society tells us to, and I got in a relationship. Unfortunately, that was with another addict. And because I thought that I could save this person, it became an incredibly emotionally abusive and resulting in physical abuse at the end. After this experience of 4 years, I ended up isolating for the next 2 months, where I ingested cocaine and drank almost every day. I slipped into a depression. I didn't want to live anymore. This is when I was prescribed depression medication. When I hit my rock bottom at the end of 2011, I sat on the floor with a bottle of pills in my hand, wondering to myself, why am I even here? I'm tired of hurting the people I love. I don't want to go on. At that point in my life, I was overweight, I was severely depressed, I was unhappily married, financially bankrupt, and I had hit my spiritual bottom. I knew that I couldn't go on any further. But yet, as I looked down at my dog who was sitting down on the floor beside me, I all of a sudden had this desire to live. I said a little prayer, even though I wasn't religious. I said, "God, please help me." In that moment, I experienced a divine intervention. All of a sudden, I had the desire to continue, to try and change my life, and I knew that I had to change everything. At first, it started off with me making a New Year's resolution and hiring a personal trainer, because I honestly believed if I could only fix how I looked on the outside, maybe that would heal the pain and emptiness that I felt on the inside. And so I started my journey. I had only replaced one addiction with another. Instead of blackout drinking every day, I went to the gym every day. I ate chicken, broccoli, and rice daily, and I wanted to be that gold star student. I had started to lose weight and felt better about myself. I had to log all my food, and of course, alcohol was a part of this. I still didn't realize I had a problem. When I logged my alcohol intake, I would drink 3 beers 3 nights a week and follow that up with half a bottle of NyQuil so I could pass out. I was always so proud of the fact that I only had 9 beer on a weekend because it wasn't this way at one time. After that, my trainer started to catch on. Fortunately, she was actually in a 12-step recovery program. She started to open up about her life a little bit more, and she suggested that maybe I come to some meetings with her. I laughed and I shrugged this off. How could I be an alcoholic, I said. I only drink 9 beers every week. No alcoholic could do that. I laughed. So that weekend, I went away with my husband. I didn't have a gym that I could attend. We were alone, by the water. I was left to my own devices. I brought 1 bottle of wine with me. That was going to last me the whole weekend, I said. Well, that first hour, I drank that bottle of wine. We started in on a case of beer, a box of wine, and a $200 bar tab. I never remembered the rest of the weekend. I just remember waking up with a vicious hangover at the end of our trip and reaching out to my trainer, asking her for help. On June 17, 2012, I began my journey of sober living. It wasn't easy at first. In fact, I resisted it. When I first went into a 12-step meeting, I remember looking around the room thinking, I'm not like you people. I had never gone to jail. I hadn't gone through treatment. But yet, when I really listened, we all had one thing in common. When we started drinking alcohol or using drugs, we couldn't stop. None of us wanted to feel our feelings, and so this was the perfect way to numb out. That was something I could relate to. And the longer I stayed, the more stories I heard, the more I wanted to be involved and change my life. The first step was for me to actually realize I had a problem. And so I started to look back at my patterns, the things that had caused me to slip up, to numb. And I began to change those. I started to implement new habits into my life. Then I had to realize that I didn't have to take this journey alone. When the word God was mentioned, I got uncomfortable at first. I thought, if there was a God, why would he have allowed me to go through 22 years of addiction and never step in? Well, I kind of laugh now, because the truth is that I'm here today. I'm not dead. I can share my story. So obviously there was something out there looking after me. From that point, I realized I didn't have to take this journey alone. I built a support network. I started to take the suggestions of prayer and meditation, and they started to work. My life had started to change. I decided that I needed to really clean up my past. I started to apologize and make amends to those I had harmed. I started to make things right. And for those that I couldn't reach, I would do a living amends. I would show people by my actions that I could change, that I was responsible, and that I was becoming the person that I was meant to be. I started digging into my purpose. I knew that I loved to help people because when I helped people get sober and saw the lights go on in their eyes, it did something for me. I had become other people centered. As a result of helping people in recovery, I was only solidifying my own. And so I thought, how could I do this and make a living? I knew I was capable of more, but I wasn't quite sure how to achieve it. I had always assumed that my past would follow me around in a negative way, but what I actually realized through this process is that my past was a gift that I could use to help others achieve the same success in their recovery that I did. I didn't want to settle or be complacent, and so I started to take action. It started with my podcast. I decided to reclaim control over my health, and I shared my journey open and honestly. I shared the strategies that I had learned from my coach, and slowly I was starting to build a healthier life. I was also excited to wake up in the morning. I had found my purpose. In early 2020, I decided I'd like to start coaching other people for a living. If I could help them find their purpose and they could enhance their recovery, there would be less chance of relapse. And so I started my coaching business. Shortly after that, I was encouraged to write my first book called Hope Elevated. In Hope Elevated, I shared my story of overcoming 20 years of addiction and how I found recovery. From that point on, I wanted to keep going. I wanted to help people discover a life beyond recovery. I wanted people to find their reason for being, their purpose in life. I have faced so many obstacles in my recovery, but the common theme is having the faith to know that you're going to get through them. Anytime I slipped into depression and recovery and things became dark, the one thing that was always consistent was I could see the light. The more I learned to overcome my roadblocks, the more resilience I developed. A mentor of mine once told me that two people could have the exact same goal. They could take the same steps to get there, but it's the person who believed in their ability to accomplish that goal that would find success. And so I started to live by that model in my own life. I started to try new things. I got outside of my comfort zone, and that started to get comfortable. I started to ride this wave of discomfort that had me trying new things and investing in my own personal development. From there, I started to change my mindset because mindset was everything. Today, I stay motivated because I always remember the reason why I'm here. I'm here to help people in recovery rewire their brain so they can change their story and enhance their recovery. I want to help people overcome their limiting beliefs so they can create a life so good for themselves that they never want to go back to their old way of living. And to those of you that are still struggling, it's okay to not be okay. You're not alone in this journey. There are so many of us who have gone through what you have, and you don't have to hold on to that shame. There is a stigma when it comes to addiction, and I'm working to help drop that stigma. I am no longer ashamed for the life that I lived because that life has brought me the gifts that I have been able to use to help others overcome that addiction and find a purpose that takes you beyond recovery.